Yeah, so I think it's been like 2 and a bit years since we last filmed something. Yeah, in Cambridge. So at my show, my debut solo show in Margate, called DEJA. And I guess all of the works in here are about exploring the kind of fragility of memory and how it's fleeting. And I kind of try and do that through the use of language that find themselves in the titles and the kind of infinite possibilities of imagery. So all of the works in the show are photographs I've taken, and I kind of print them out put them through a process of kind of differentiating them from what they are. So I photograph them, crop them, print them, and then I stick them onto wooden boards, and then I make still lifes of the pieces of paper. You find that the majority of the paintings got these kind of margins on them, these points where like the picture doesn't quite meet the edges. I guess they started here on this one, where the printed image didn't want to go any further than here, and I didn't want to I don't think you should just paint the same size canvas so that the ratios are all right. I think you should kind of chance it. Yeah, so there started to be these areas where I realized that can act as kind of entrance points and exit points for the viewer. But as I've been making the works, I realized that they're also like margins for me, to like scribble when you're taking notes. And they also lend themselves to this idea of how thoughts, imagination and memory kind of bleed into each other. So you'll see on say this painting here, this is the last painting I did for the show. They've become like petals, but they were never meant to be petals. They're just these points where I've been cleaning my brush. Kind of like painting's quite loaded, and it's quite nice to have some room to breathe. And that's what these areas kind of are. But it's different because, the Daydream, this painting over here, every single color that exists in this painting is actually documented with little dots where like each color exists. I think it's quite nice to lend that to the viewer. I've moved all around the country really, so I've got people from Rugby, people from Cambridge, people from London, from Cornwall, all came down. And I think I was speaking earlier about how maybe me existing in these different places has allowed me to take that privilege and kind of ambition of creating work that is around a shared memory rather than a solo memory. This is important to me, I'm a skateboarder, and I've been welcomed into the arms of the skateboard world in everywhere I've lived. And I think skateboarders are really, they share a lot, and that allows everyone to share more. So I think there's a sense of the paintings being welcoming to people, even though they're very personal memories, So yeah, it went well. It was nice. People dig the work. People that have been following my work for 10 years or so came by and were seeing parts of the old paintings in the new paintings, and that was a real privilege. What has really made a difference for me is taking a deep dive into art history and traditional technique, and it made me feel like I belong somewhere, which really breeds super new ideas, because you become more able when you feel like you belong and you kind of know your parameters. So I'm proud that I've went against what I thought was the right thing to do and went on this solo mission to learn more about what I do. I've got some incredible friends that are on the other end of the phone when I don't know how to mix a color or turn a color down, or even what medium to use for things, and I've got myself to a position now where I actually know what I'm doing, and I can now help people. And the sense of belonging also makes you a better person. Yeah, really important to me. This is a study from Akira. I have quite a long-standing relationship with this film, as I think a lot of people do. But this character is only in the film for a split second. I think maybe camera pans twice or something. Well, not the camera, these things are hand-painted, frame by frame. So there is a sense of doing a copy of an original, really, which is quite loaded in itself. This is called Self-Portrait. It's quite quite a poignant relationship that I have with this character. I think over the years of watching this film, I first watched it when I was maybe 8 to 10 years old, and then I actually, when I was living on a boat in Cornwall, I had no Wi-Fi or anything, and this was the only film. Well, I had 2 films on my laptop. I had this and Watchmen, so I used to watch them alternatively every night and fall asleep to them. So I started like knowing the films word for word pretty much, and I found myself always drawn to this character, and I think it's the sense of fear in his face. This gun has been shot. It's like Neo Tokyo. He's leaving because there's like the city's crumbling, and this guy's arm here. He's stolen these test subjects. He's getting chased by the police, and there's a police dog, and it jumps at him. It's Alsatian, I think it is, and he shoots it, and it hits the screen, and the blood comes over. But I remember feeling some serious fear in my childhood, and I felt like if I was going to do a self-portrait, then it was better off being represented through something that incorporated the kind of nuances of fear rather than a picture of me. So I guess this is why it's a self-portrait. And there's also, you know, some quite funny links with, like, they're leaving the city, they've got this bag, they've got his teddy bear, you know, maybe it's this, like, idea of, like, leaving the childhood behind, you know, like, becoming a man or whatever that means, and this transition period. And for me, it was a very transitional period, I guess, painting this, because building that kind of visual relationship with those emotions, yeah, I guess that's why it's a self-portrait. So this is, I took a break from making ceramics, but after I'd been kind of painting for 7 months or so, I thought I'd come back and try and do something a bit more sophisticated and less crude. I guess something I'd learned about through painting, I wanted to exercise through ceramics. And this piece was called Tumbleweed. Like, well before I made the piece, I wanted to make a beach ball, but I imagine a beach ball in the sense of this thing that's forever floating in my environment, that even if you don't see it, it's still there. And the night before the show, I was on the steps in Margate with my niece and my family, and this beach ball just tumbled over, and no one took ownership of it. It was a free-for-all, and we took it and we played with it, you know, for the next couple of hours. And it really kind of reignited the original idea about the beach ball as the tumbleweed, the seaside tumbleweed. That's what the beach ball is, the thing that's forever in motion and kind of ready to pop in this eerie landscape, like Courage the Cowardly Dog, you know, this kind of like eerie space with this beach ball, you know. And I think that objects, you know, you lay things onto objects and onto images. So Deja Vu, the show, is about really what you lay onto images, the fragility of words, and how sometimes you're better off using pictures to exercise the spaces between words. That's what images allow you to do. Someone told me earlier today about transitional objects and what they are, and it's a transitional object is kind of something like a blanket that a child holds. It kind of is a reminder of their mum, and you put these meanings onto objects, and if there's a transitional object in this show, or you know, every object has the potential to be a transitional object, but if there's one in this show, it's the beach ball, you know, the tumbleweed. Presents from Ed. Always presents from Ed. The best presents.